Did Karl Marx write about the devil? Part 1. I don't know, so I asked Groke. Karl Marx did not explicitly write about the devil in a theological or supernatural sense. However, the claim likely stems from interpretations of his works or personal writings, particularly a poem he wrote in 1837 titled The Fiddler, sometimes translated as The Player. In this poem, Marx uses dramatic, metaphorical imagery, including references to a demonic figure, which some interpret as the devil. The poem reflects a young Marx's romantic and rebellious literary style, not a literal treatise on Satan. For example, lines from The Fiddler include, "With Satan I have struck my deal, he chalks the signs, beats time for me." These have been seized upon by critics, especially during the Cold War, to paint Marx as having a fascination with evil or the occult. However, scholars argue this is poetic hyperbole, common in the Sturm und Drang literary movement that influenced Marx's early writings. His later works, like Capital or the Communist Manifesto, focus on materialist analysis of economics and class struggle, with no mention of supernatural entities. Then I asked Google. While Karl Marx didn't explicitly write about the devil in the traditional religious sense, his works do contain elements that have been interpreted as having a dark, even diabolical quality. Some scholars and critics have pointed to his early poetry and plays, which feature themes of darkness, rebellion, and a fascination with Mephistopheles, the devil figure in Goethe's Faust, as evidence of a personal interest in the demonic. Additionally, some argue that the destructive and dehumanizing aspects of his later theories of communism, as well as the suffering caused by regimes that implemented his ideas, have a devilish quality. Here's a more detailed look. Early poetry and plays. Marx's early writings, particularly his poetry and plays, contain imagery of darkness, rebellion, and a Faustian bargain with a dark force. For example, one poem speaks of selling his soul to the Prince of Darkness, the devil's view. Some interpretations suggest that Marx's worldview, particularly his focus on conflict and destruction, can be seen as having a devil's view. Influence of Faust. Marx's fascination with Goethe's Faust, a play featuring a pact with the devil, is seen as a significant influence on his early work and worldview. Legacy of suffering. The millions of deaths and immense suffering caused by communist regimes in the 20th century are, for some, a manifestation of the dark side of Marx's ideas, leading to comparisons with the devil. But Google concluded that Marx was not a Satanist. While some have argued that Marx was a Satanist, this is not a widely accepted view. The evidence points more towards a fascination with dark themes and imagery rather than a literal belief in Satan.